Giving antibiotics to dogs can have significant side effects, especially for their good health, liver, and overall well-being. And sometimes these antibiotics we give to our dogs are absolutely ridiculous, and the downsides of them are often bypassed by your veterinarian and even by yourself, who don't take the time or overly rely on your vet for their advice. So in this video, I am going to enumerate the different side effects and possible risks of giving antibiotics to your dog and what you can do instead. The first thing we need to talk about is the disruption to your dog's gut microbiome. You see, antibiotics kill good and bad bacteria, and that is an absolute recipe for disaster sometimes in and of itself. Because yes, you might be treating something with antibiotics and that might be killing harmful bacteria, but that's also killing beneficial bacteria in your dog's gut. And let me tell you something, your dog's gastrointestinal issues sometimes are a reflection of giving your dogs too many antibiotics. When the beneficial bacteria in your dog's gut gets diminished, gets affected by all the antibiotics you might be giving them, this can have three very separate issues. The one is digestive issues, things like gastrointestinal issues, vomiting, diarrhea, etc., etc. This is a reaction, an overreaction to giving your dog a lot of antibiotics. The second one is a suppressed immune system. The more antibiotics you give your dog, the more affected they are going to be from an immunological standpoint, because your dog's immune system, as well as yours and mine, is housed in the gut primarily. So anything we do to potentially harm our gut is really bad news for our immune system. And the third one is the overgrowth of harmful bacteria and even yeast. And yeast overgrown, or candida, is one of the most pernicious things you can do for your dog's gut. Any yeast infection is particularly egregious and particularly painful and irritating to your dog. So you do need to pay attention to this. The second risk is leaky gut syndrome, and this is the permeability of your dog's gut. If you picture your dog's immune system, your dog's gut bacteria and the walls as a rock where no harmful bacteria can get inside the rock, that's a really healthy immune system. But if that rock starts degrading and eroding, then maybe agents can permeate this rock, which is the gut in your dog. This is called increased permeability of the gut. Imagine food particles, toxins, and bad agents going into your dog's gut and leaking into the bloodstream. This is really not good news. This is why there is so much inflammation and allergies in dogs these days. They get exposed to too many antibiotics, and these affect the gut in ways you have never thought possible before. The vet gives you a treatment and you simply apply to your dog day in and day out, week in and week out, or month in and month out, and that's really not good for them. Leaky gut syndrome can then extrapolate into allergies and skin problems. So if your dog is itching, if your dog has any suspected allergies, your dog's gut might be at the epicenter of everything you need to pay attention to. And by the way, if you are interested for free in knowing what your dog's best food should be, you can download our free ebook below. Click in the link in the description. The third one is liver strain and toxicity. I mean, this is a really big one that no one really talks about whenever it comes to pharmacological interventions. Anytime your body or your dog's body needs to flush out something, it does so through the liver. This is why alcohol is not recommended if you have liver issues, or too much alcohol for that matter, because the liver is meant to sieve, is meant to sort and filter the different particles, the good from the bad. And so if your dog's liver gets further exacerbated and you keep inflamming it and you keep making it work extra time with antibiotics or any other drugs that you may be giving your dog, your dog's liver is going to degrade over time, and that's going to be bad for your dog's liver, for your dog's kidneys, for your dog's pancreas, and for your dog overall. So the liver, pay attention to the liver anytime you give your dog any sort of pharmacological intervention, any sort of tablet, any sort of injection, you need to pay attention to the liver and the potential outcomes of this. The fourth one is antibiotic resistance. And this is something that vets do not talk about enough. If you start a course of antibiotics, you as a person or me, prescribed by your GP or your doctor, if you are watching this from overseas, you will see that over time you build a tolerance to the drug. You get to a point where the antibiotics no longer work as they did when you first started taking them. This is because your body starts creating antibodies that are resistant to these bacteria, to these antibiotics. So the antibiotics do not work as well as they did on day dot. And it's the same for your dog. If you give your dog recurrent antibiotics, you are going to overall not make those antibiotics as effective as they once were. So it's important for you to understand this, because you might be throwing money away without knowing. And the fifth one is dysbiosis, and this is an imbalance in your dog's gut bacteria. And this is extremely important because your dog's gut, what it does is fight infections. Anything pernicious, dangerous, potentially dangerous to your dog, the gut is there to protect it. To protect it from any allergies, to protect it from any sort of skin infections. And if your dog's gut is diminished, the one thing you are doing by contributing to the permeability of your dog's gut is a suppression of the immune system. The more compromised your dog's microbiome becomes, the more susceptible your dog is to fighting all the diseases, chronic infections, or general disease. Now, do not get me wrong, antibiotics do work, and you should seek pharmacological intervention if it's going to benefit your dog. There are a lot of people on social media especially who claim that they can do everything without any drugs, and they do not believe in any drugs whatsoever for dogs. I believe in technology, I believe in science, and I believe in pharmacological interventions when they are needed. And this is when they are needed. Not every single time they get presented to us. If you go to your doctor and they prescribe you 3 or 4 courses of antibiotics back to back, you might trust them on the first one, but by the third or the fourth one, you might start looking at different options, because you know that by then your immune system is going to be reacting in a slightly different way, and you might need to change the way you eat. You might need to change the way you do things from a holistic standpoint. And this is not to say that antibiotics do not work. Absolutely, they do work. You need to be really awake whenever it comes to digesting information, because there's a lot of people who will try to put ideas in your head, and you need to be able to decide what's good and what's garbage. And people who claim that everything can be solved with holistic alternatives is full of it, in my opinion. Yes, do believe in science. Yes, do believe in technology. Yes, by all means, do trust your vet. But at the same time, check, and check. Get a first opinion, get a second opinion, get a third opinion. Check your dog's diet, check your dog's breed, check your dog's ancestry, check your dog first, and then try to see if this antibiotic or that antibiotic is needed. And if it is needed, how long is it going to be needed for? Do not fall into the trap of just carrying on with antibiotics or medical interventions for your dog, because that is the worst thing you can do for your dog. And allergies these days seem to be on the rise as something that we see every single day. And if you want to know more about allergies and what's good and what's bad in terms of what prescriptions are available or treatments might be available to your dog, I highly encourage you to watch this video next.